have the distinct honor and privilege to introduce to you all
Damn right you do.
a chemist, a model, and a circus performer. Gerard, Erin and Felix Silla.
Oh, there we are. Thank you for coming out so early on Sunday morning.
All you had to do is ask.
It's always that way.
Some people have it, some people don't. What do you want? Sit down, shut up. Stand up, Felix. Come on.
So you guys did this TV show back in the 70s.
We
what
did.
Was it?
Late 70s, early 80s.
Oh, I'm sorry, late 70s, early 80s.
He just got up, ladies and gentlemen.
Buck Rogers.
Yeah. What about it?
Buck, right?
Well, I played Buck.
You played Buck.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And you played
Buck does not stop here.
Colonel Wilma, dear.
Colonel Wilma, dear.
Thank you.
And we have Felix down there on the end. Hi, Felix.
Twiki. Also president and did all the flying Ewok stunts in Star Wars.
Thank you, Gil. Yes, what's it going to cost me?
And he was a circus performer before he was anything else.
Yeah. One of the most fascinating
Did you do
things
something like that?
I did. I introduced you as a model, a chemist, and a circus performer.
Oh.
Pay attention to me.
I thought you said chemist and model.
He did, but that's all right.
I thought you were just introducing me. I didn't know. I forgot that she was.
I forgot about your modeling work.
No, I didn't model. No. A
That's
lot of
all.
commercials, but no modeling.
So
That's too
Erin,
big.
you're from Honolulu, Hawaii.
Yes, I am.
So you started out. You're prior to the Buck Rogers. You were a model.
I was indeed. I was also a dancer.
A dancer, okay.
Yeah, one of the first shows I ever did was called Malibu U with Ricky Nelson. And I was one of the Bob Bannis dancers. Oh, and if you ever get to see a clip of Leonard Nimoy singing Bilbo Baggins, I think it was.
The Ballad of Bilbo Baggins.
Okay. I'm the girl right over his shoulder with the short Vidal Sassoon haircut. That was the show. It was
YouTube
from
it.
Malibu U.
YouTube it.
Take a look. I couldn't believe it. I was at the creation event and I'm backstage and I'm looking at the screen and I'm going, oh, I think that's me up there. Oh my goodness. Who knew?
Okay. And Gil, you started out as a chemist, which it just blows my mind.
Rocket scientist, he likes to
You're a
say.
rocket surgeon.
No, I'm on the rocket side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's not what I heard.
Well, no, I didn't have anything to do with the actual trajectories that's a rocket scientist. It's somebody who's, I just was part of the development team that came up with the fuels and oxidizers for the Titan II missile.
Woo.
Not much.
That's our bird director. She advises, we raise birds and she advises on our birds.
Oh.
Okay.
We have 2 parrotlets and 2 cockatiels. Thank you. I forget. It's been a while since I've been home. Hi there.
Hi there. And
Oh, yes, I was. And you want to talk to Felix now?
I'd like to talk to Felix if you don't mind, sir. And you came to America as a circus performer.
Well, I came from Italy in 1955, and I joined the circus in 56, Ringling Brothers. I traveled for 6-7 years, and then I decided to stay in California in 1962. That's how I started in the movie industry, and I quit. Actually, I retired in 1995.
Okay, yeah, I found it fascinating. And again, I'm in awe of you guys because you guys were my heroes when I grew up.
Oh, thank you.
And I find it fascinating. You were Cousin It on the Addams Family.
Yes, I was on the original TV show.
And then you had to work with Gil. deal, so.
And then I had to put to a deal, yeah, but I
One
really,
circus to
Another
another.
monster.
no, I had a lot of fun working with these two guys, two gentlemen, the gentleman and lady here. I really enjoyed it, and it was fun, and I'm glad to be here today with them. So,
Anybody have any, shut up for a minute. Anybody have any questions?
This is me losing control of this.
Anybody, you never had control.
I like to think I had
Who do
control.
you think yelled through the background? It's any time now, Phil, let's go.
Yes, sir, Mr.
Yes, sir, right here.
Have you,
Oh, sorry, hey,
like the microphone.
Get on the
are they gonna reboot?
I have no idea. I've read it, there's a lawsuit going on right now, and who knows how it's gonna come out between the Nolans and the Dillies. Philip Nolan's the guy who who did the cartoon or the comic strip, and the Dilly family, the patriarch, is the one that hired Philip Nolan to do it. That's all I know. I stay out of it. I mean, I was asked to get involved with it, and I said, hey, I do not have a horse in this race. You guys battle it out yourselves.
You get your paycheck, that's good then.
Well, it's not even that. It's like I don't have any rights to it, and however that comes out, that comes out. That I pissed
Yeah.
off the Nolan family because I wouldn't do it, and I was like, hey, I got nothing here. So good luck with it.
It is a
Yes.
franchise that a lot of producers have wanted very much to do.
Yeah.
They keep running into trouble with the attorneys, say, as who has the rights to.
Yeah. Disney
The
came
next
up with
step.
it, and they didn't do anything with it. That's the last I read.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, similar vein, assuming they did get it resolved, first question, what advice would you give them when they do reboot the show?
Don't lose a sense of humor.
And second question, who should play the role that you had and why?
I think, well, I've said many times, Nathan Fillion. I had the opportunity to talk to Nathan yesterday, was he here yesterday or Friday? Friday. And I was able to tell him that he would be my choice because
He has a sense of
he
humor.
handles a sense of humor. He did it on Firefly, and also, what was it?
Castle.
Serenity was the movie?
Castle, the TV show Castle.
I haven't seen Castle, but the stuff,
Great.
well,
Great
excuse the
series.
hell out of me.
Oh, well, you should have. One of my favorite
I have
shows.
a lawn to mow. I can't have time to watch it. But I told him, I said, you would be my choice because of his ability to handle a sense of humor. A lot of people can't do that. They're either too broad or they just don't have the knack for it, and he had the knack for it. And I felt like he would make a good Buck Rogers.
Ryan Reynolds has a good sense of humor.
Who?
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah,
Deadpool.
that's all right, yeah.
I mean,
Who would you like to see play Colonel Erin?
I've always thought Charlize Theron should play.
Charlize, okay.
Charlize Theron. Yeah.
Of course you would, sure.
Sure. Well, she's hot, sexy, and strong.
I still don't understand. How about you, Felix? Who you want to see play the gigantic dildo? I mean, Twiki.
10 o'clock?
What's that?
10 o'clock.
I heard it.
10 o'clock panel? Oh, the kids can't be up by now.
They're in church.
Are there any kids in here?
No, it's too early.
Where? Oh, besides you, yeah.
I don't know, Gil. There's not too many little people left.
Yeah.
So
Well,
if
maybe
they're gonna
you could refreeze your.
I could do it, but it costs more money to make the suit because it's gonna be bigger. Because I gained weight. That wasn't like 31 years ago, 35 years ago. I gained a little weight, so that it cost more money to make a suit. But I don't think I would do it. If you do it, I will do it.
I won't be playing.
Then I won't be playing either. So.
Well, I wouldn't mind playing like his
I guess
commander or something.
I guess we have a job.
I could play his grandfather. I don't know.
Well, yeah.
This is great. Hey, first of all, Erin, I just want to say I met you in 2000 at Comic-Con, and you shook my hand, and I haven't washed it yet. So
That's what that smell is.
this is awesome. So my question is this: out of the 100 that I have, concerning the three of you, what is the funniest, saddest, craziest, or scariest story that involves all three of you from each of your perspective? I think that would be
Funniest,
Scariest?
anything. Yeah.
Well,
Well-
the thing about when we were sitting in the river of molten, whatever it is, you came up with that
Yeah,
story
well,
about the egg.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, well, yeah, Buck Rogers was one of my first real jobs as an actress, and so I was trying to learn everything about the business. So I would sneak into, every day they would run the dailies for the director and the producers and the editor, and they would make notes about what they were seeing, about what had been shot the day before. And I'd be in the theater down real low, and they didn't know I was there, and I'd be listening to them and watching the screen and trying to figure out why they make decisions. And I noticed every day on the dailies, before we actually got into the scene, the camera was on, and Gil was always cutting up and telling jokes and teasing, and I was always Miss Serious. I was like, I go there and I do this, okay, I got it. It became very boring to me after a while. It became very obvious to me that this was not the best way to be seen to the producers. He was always Mr. Charming, and I was always Miss Serious. So I decided to change things, and so I came in one day and I said to the cameraman, I said, when the scene is over, just keep when the director says cut, just keep the film rolling. And I said to the young actress next to me, Brianne Leary, I said, you know, when he say cut, just keep looking at me. That's all you do, just keep looking at me. And this was Planet of the Slave Girls, you know, so we were all in our little slave costumes and shackled, and we were about to be thrown into Kay-Leal's mountain, and the actress next to me is going, oh, I'm sorry, Wilma, something along the lines of, well, there's no way that Buck can get here to save us some time, I'm really sorry about all this. Cut. You know, it's really tough being an egg. You only get laid once, eaten once, and it takes 10 minutes to get hard. So, Gil, of course, does not want to be talked by anybody, so it became one of these things where, you know, every day we'd sneak in a joke like that. Usually we'd wait till it was really late at night because we were all so tired, so then we'd slip in one of these jokes, and it became this ongoing sort of, I guess, fun thing to do, and even the crew started getting, you know, exactly. Meanwhile, the crew was feeding me jokes so that I could keep up with them. And unfortunately, we were very excited about our Christmas party because they were going to edit all that together, and they were going to show a Christmas reel. And 2 weeks before the Christmas party, somebody stole the reel. So yeah, we never surfaced. Have no idea what happened to it.
So if you're out there, bring the damn thing back.
Yes, it'll be fun.
Yeah, Pat, you've got it, right? I know you do. You know who you are, Pat.
As for scary, anything scary?
Oh, I don't know.
I think the scariest thing was you trying to get into the Starfighter and there wasn't any place for your legs.
My legs, yeah. I was just afraid they were going to cut my legs off rather than... the first time they were very proud of the Starfighter. And so they brought me in to see it, and they had all the lights and everything on the thing, and they were showing all this stuff, and this is where I sit. And I said, well, that's great. I said, the only thing is you forgot to put a place in there for my legs.
It's true.
There was no leg hole. It just, you know, it went straight across. I said, how am I supposed to sit in there? Yeah? Oh. So they were like PO that I happened to find that out, and I was like, I'm not cutting off my legs for this thing. I mean, I'll give you a lot, but I'm not giving you that. And so we had to wait until they cut a leg hole so I could sit in the thing, and then I could truly enjoy all of the bells and whistles and stuff that they'd put in it, which were meaningless lights. They just flashed and they looked good on camera. That's all it meant. So. But it was fun. I don't know if that was scary, but
no,
it's just inconvenient. I don't know if we had any really scary moments. It was a pretty well-run show.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. Felix had one where you fell down during.
Well, actually,
the scene.
mine wasn't kind of scary, but that.
Yeah, you were scared
Nothing
that
to
you
do
were choked
about,
to death.
nothing to do, well, that one, oh, when I fell?
Yeah.
Okay, we would do a scene in a cemetery.
Okay.
And Gil told me, he says, you go ahead of me, because it was dark, and it kind of, it was harder for me to see where I was going. I was worried about rocks and things, So he said, I'll give you about a couple of feet ahead. You go ahead, and then I'll follow you. So I'm going up the hill, and all of a sudden I go this way and down, and I fell flat on my face. And the camera's going along the track on the other side. There was like a 2-3 foot wall.
Mm-hmm.
The guy jumped over, and he picks me up. And he's lifting me under my armpits, and he kept saying to the director, what do you want me to do with this guy? And kept saying to him, put me down. He repeated about 4 times. What am I do with this guy? I says, God damn it, put me down. You're choking me. So finally he put me down. While he was lifting me, I was falling into the suit.
Yeah.
So this costume was choking me and I couldn't hardly talk. I finally said, God damn it, put me down. He finally put me down. But another scary thing was, it was nothing to do with Buck Rogers, it was to do with Indiana Jones.
Oh.
When I got stuck under the raft in the river. And that was scary, but there wasn't funny about it. So,
Well, you were doubling the kid, right?
yeah, I was doubling old boy, short rounders but it was about, we were in the film for about 6 months altogether, from the beginning to the end. And we were doing a scene up in near San Francisco, and we went down the river, actually it was Sacramento. We were doing down the river, and the raft flipped over, and I got stuck underneath. So, I'm not a swimmer. The guy said, don't worry about it, if anything happens, just pull him straight, because they put it on those life jacket. And I kept pulling and pulling, and all of a sudden I said, what am I doing here? So I really yanked really hard, and the thing inflated. And I'm underneath the air pocket, and everything was kind of yellow on top of me, the raft was upside down. And I kept thinking, should I let it loose or hang on? So I just stayed there, and the guy said to me, I was pulling your leg and you didn't want to let it go. I said, what kind of leg you were pulling? I said, I didn't feel anything, So finally, Steven Spielberg found out, he was in London at that time, we were in California doing the second unit. He found out, he says, I don't want Felix to do any more water work because I need him to finish the film. So that was the end of that. But every other night I kind of had those kind of dreams that I was drowning for about 3-4 months after that, almost every other night. So that was kind of scary because I'm not a swimmer. Like I can't swim from here to here. So
Wow.
that was it. But Roger was fun. Put me down. Can't put me down. No.
Okay.
Yes, I'm done.
Yes.
Can we go home now?
Yes.
Hey, good to see you guys. Saw you last year. Really appreciate you guys being here. Gil, as far as I'm concerned, you're always going to be my Buck Rogers.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you, what was it like working with Buster Crabbe, the original Buck Rogers?
It was great. Yeah, he and I became friends after that, and we stayed in contact with each other until the day he died. Buster did one thing that I used to call him up and cuss him out for, not literally, but we were on the set one day and he said, everybody's all excited about these, special effects, they're the latest thing and everybody's really excited about them. And yeah, we were doing some cutting edge stuff for that time. And he said, everybody was the same way when we shot Buck Rogers back in the 20s. And he said, now everybody laughs at the special effects. It's been 50 years. So he said, who knows in 50 years what they'll be saying about Buck Rogers. So that sort of got stored in my head. And then from then on, I would, every time I'd have to see the show, I'd be looking at it with his words ringing in my ears. Does it still hold up? Does it still hold up? And so far, I think it still does. And some of you have told me it still does. I don't know how it would have looked with CGI, but I know that the Heartland people did a hell of a job. But I used to call Buster up and go, "You son of a gun." Actually, I used another word, but anyway. I said, I can't watch the show now without your voice ringing in my ear. Does it still hold up? Does it still hold up? So I said, it's all your fault. Like, you took away all my enjoyment. But, I don't know if you're familiar with what they did. They used to do everything by computer. And it was the first time they'd ever done that. So when they did they got one shot a day with that technique. So when we were they would do the Starfighter, let's say, would do this. That's the one shot for the day. And it had to do with locking down the camera so that the blue screen in the background or the star field wouldn't smear when the thing did this. And they did it without the engine fire. And next day they would come back and they would shoot just the engine fire doing the same thing. The computer allowed them to be within 1/10,000th of a millimeter. So they were able to then marry the two together. And so when you see it, it goes like this. And the reason they had to do that was if they'd put the flames with the starfighter, you wouldn't have been able to see the starfighter. It would have just washed the whole thing out. Another thing that they used to do was, you know, I had a ray gun and had a light on the end of it. And when I would pull the trigger, the light would go off. And then they would shoot another shot of, let's say a lock on a door exploding. The light on the ray gun was a cue for the special effects people to then begin drawing in by hand, frame by frame, the laser. They did. If you ever see there's an old laser disc. It's called Disco Vision that Universal came up with. If you take it down slowly, you can actually see each individual frame where the laser goes all the way across and it goes to the lock that explodes. Each one of those laser shots, including in the starfighter stuff, had to be hand drawn. These guys were always being compared to the Star Wars people. The Star Wars people had 2 years, and yes, they were great special effects, but they had 2 years to do them. These guys had a week. We shot that show in 7 days. Huh?
Yeah,
and they worked around the clock. So did we, actually.
Yeah.
And that's how you spend $1 billion.
Yeah, there was a time when someone brought up the Olympiad yesterday, and I said, that was one of the times that we were shooting 2 shows at the same time. And I remember going from one show to the next, and I was like, okay, who are the bad guys in this? And I literally worked around the clock, from going from one show to the other, to try to get caught up with everything.
Well, it definitely holds up, man. We appreciate you guys.
Well, thank you for
Thank you
that. I
very
appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, sir.
It's great to see all of you here. Thanks so much for joining us again at Drag Time. You mentioned the Starfire. I was wondering what happened to the major props, like the Starfire. Do you have any idea what became of those?
No, I actually could have had them all, and I said, no, what am I going to do with that stuff? They were going to give me the Starfighter, and I said, what am I going to do? Put it in my backyard and charge 25 cents to the kids, local neighborhood kids? I had no idea. I mean, if somebody told me, in 1981, which was the last time we shot the show, that 36 years later, I would be sitting at a table with people lined up to have my autograph, I'd have told them they were out of their mind. And the fact that there's anybody here but the 3 of us this morning, I find astonishing. And I'm very touched by it, actually, to think that something that we did 36 years ago still resonates with you people. It's incredible. And it means a lot to me that you're here.
Yeah.
More than my being here, actually. So I'm very appreciative to be here, because the alternative sucks, but I just find it amazing that because to me it was a job. The job was over, I went on to the next job. I had no idea that it would be an iconic figure or anything, that it would even be remembered beyond the cutoff date. So thank you all for being here.
I actually have another story to that. I actually was told that I was going to be here and that people would remember the show. I was modeling in New York and in the mid-70s, working with Richard Avedon, and he came into the set. He was so excited. He had spent the evening with a psychic, and he kept talking about this great psychic. And I went, well, if Richard Avedon thinks a psychic is of interest, I'm going to go visit with this psychic. So I had an appointment with him, and I said to him, I'm thinking about becoming an actress. I've been studying. I'm modeling in New York at this time, and I'm kind of afraid to make the move from New York to LA, and do you see me being successful? And he said, you're going to do something of a different time period. He said, I don't know if it's the future or the past. You're going to sign a contract, and the first letter on the contract is the letter M. You're going to argue with the producers about the color of your hair, and 30 years afterwards, you're going to be signing your name a lot. And I went, okay. So cut to a few years later, I'm in LA, I get this job on Buck Rogers, and I'm like, wow, I wonder if this is the thing. He said, this is the thing that people are gonna remember me for the most. And I look at the contract, I don't see the letter M, and I forget about it. A year later, I'm in the back lot, and I'm arguing with the producer about the color of my hair, and I went home, and I opened up that contract, and I looked, and what I noticed is on the heading of the letter, or the contract, was Universal Studios, but on a diagonal was MCA, and technically the M was the first letter of the contract. So, and here I am 30 years later signing my name a lot, so somebody knew. And the other thing I thought was interesting was that I found out that Buck Rogers first came out in print in a cartoon on January 7th, which is my birthday. So, woo, I don't know.
No wonder it's so fucked up.
Did you get to keep the uniform?
They actually offered me my wardrobe, and I said, no, just burn them. And you have to understand, for me, it was like wearing a girdle from head to toe for 2 years, and I'm not one to get headaches or whatever, and they were so uncomfortable because it was spandex, but it had no give to it. So there was no, I didn't sit down often. You rarely see Colonel Wilma sitting down, you know.
You kind of lucked out there, Gil, not having to wear that.
Oh, he had his own version. You know, he had.
You got to wear civies. So.
Well, I made sure that I got
The second year. Yeah.
Actually, I have all of the leather jackets that I wore.
Do you?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Those were
Those Buck Rogers.
Those were good. I like
They were
those
very
look
good.
nice.
They're still 36 years later.
They're
I still wear
good.
them. But yeah, I had the same thing. They said, you know, Barry, who was my wardrobe guy, said, you know, you want any of this? I said, what for?
Yeah,
You know, the white suit, the formal outfit, and all that stuff. Some guy, what was his name?
Oh, Fuller French.
Fuller French.
Yeah, bought all
I think
the
he sold
wardrobe.
it now.
Yeah,
right?
sold it. I said, if I had known, I could have paid for my daughter's college education. I would have
Yeah,
kept
no
those suits, you know.
He had some of the models too, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, a guy named Fuller French. He showed me he took me to his air-conditioned storage room, and he had Ardala's costume, all of the formal outfits, the models he had set up on some things in another room. And apparently Western Costume Universal had sold everything to Western Costume, which was a major costume house in LA, and then they just sold off stuff like the Buck Rogers things, and he bought the entire collection, the entire wardrobe, some of the special effects models and things. But yeah, I could have had that too.
What was
But
interesting
I
about...
didn't want to wear it. I didn't, it's like, what am I going to do with that? Same thing with the Starfighter.
Starfighter.
Yeah.
You didn't say what I'm going to do with that. You said, what am I going to do with that shit? That's I
okay,
remember.
fine.
Tell them the truth,
You
will
know,
you?
it's early in the morning and there may be
It's
children.
okay, wake them up now. Wake them up.
See, you just gross Pat out, he's leaving.
Well,
He's going to
you're
go to
leaving.
church and beg
Come
for your
back.
forgiveness.
What was that?
One thing I thought was interesting about Fuller, I had met him, and he told me I was in Dallas where he lived, and he invited me to his home to meet his wife and kids. And so I saw that he also had a collection of albums.
Mhm.
And I went, oh, that's very cool. I said, you know, one of my first jobs was doing a cover of these, you know, albums, these musical, actually it was Chris Montez, Time After Time. And his wife and both of them just stopped, and they looked at me and said, you're on the cover of this album? I said, yeah. And he said, it's my husband's favorite album. And he had no idea that the girl on the cover was also Colonel Wilma Deering. So it was so bizarre. He said, he knows every song. He sings it every day in the car with his kids. And he went over and he looked at it and he went, oh my goodness. I suddenly realized it was me.
Wow.
I thought it was kind of a funny coincidence.
Yeah, I'm only on the cover of, I don't know, something else. I have a romantic novel of some kind.
Do you?
Yes. I'm half naked, and so the girl's totally naked, but
Oh, okay.
that was a tough job. Thank God the check cleared, that's all I can. But, yeah.
Thanks.
Yes,
I have two questions. The first is for Felix. How did you feel about the circus closing? And the second,
How would I feel about the circus closing? I think it's very sad. It's been 146 years, and all of a sudden, because of the elephant or because of the clowns are kicking each other, slapping each other. The story was a little girl told her mom, they went to see the circus, told her mom, they scare me, they're hitting each other, the clowns. They're hitting each other, I don't like it. So the mothers wrote a letter to the whoever owned the circus. And so all of a sudden the clowns, they were not allowed to do any slapping each other or do nothing, like kicking each other. They were not really kicking each other. They were just a thing to make people laugh. So that's what happened. And then the elephant, I've seen in 1956 in New York City at the old Madison Square Garden. I saw the trainer, the way they treated the animal, the way they were grabbing the elephant by the ear with a hook. Those are very, very sharp at the end. And then when they make them run, they grab by the ear and they pull them. So, I mean, it's been on for 146 years. Why they have to, but a circus without elephant is not going to be a circus. So that's why they shut down. So it's a very sad, and I don't like it. But, you come to town and make the people enjoy it like this, You go, come to the show and you enjoy yourself. Circus is the same thing, but it's not. It's a very sad story that what happened after 146 years.
I did the elephant act from Ringling Brothers for Circus of the Stars. I had to learn how to command 3 elephants and then a leopard. In the morning we did the rehearsal. What elephant's name? The main elephant's name was Anime, and she was lying on her side at the back of the ring. And I would yell, "Anime up," and she would start to rise. And it takes an elephant a while to get up. It's a lot to move. The elephant's head weighs like 12,000 pounds. So she would start to rock this way, and then she would rock that way, and then she would come up like this, and then she would come up like that and settle. And all that time I'm running up her back, and then standing on her head and doing that. And so I yelled "Anime up," she started a thing, I came running up her back, I got to her head, which was about like this, and I got here, and all she did was just settle back. She settled back into my rib, broke my rib. It's about 8,000 pounds going, just gently popping it. And I'm up like this going, oh shit. So then I got up on the thing, and they call it styling. So I styled, and then what she does is she goes down, and I just drop onto the back of her neck, which sounds terrible, but a truck could fall on her neck and it wouldn't bother her. And then I would ride around, and the other elephants would follow. So I finished rehearsal and find out, I'm like, she broke my rib. So I went to the doctor, and he said, well, there's nothing really we can do about it. So he said, it's just going to get worse. So I said, okay. So I shot the show with a broken rib. And part of the show was, besides doing the whole thing with Anime and the elephants and all that, was the leopard would leap into my arms, and the leopard weighed about 65 pounds. And so she would leap into my arms, I'd grab her like this and then put her over my shoulders and walk around with this leopard around my neck. And it was okay, except for when she landed against my rib. When she leapt into my arms, it was like, okay, hey, you're right, this is great, yes ma'am. And then I went home from Las Vegas, from doing the show, and the next day we shot the entire fight scene between me and Hawk. So I did that entire fight scene with a broken rib. Yeah, that was pleasant.
Yeah.
But the show must go on,
Yes.
I came into this business almost 50 years ago, and I always heard that no matter what. I mean, I worked with 105-degree fever doing a soap, because that's what you did, because people relied upon you to show up for the set.
Right.
And I remember that my castmate, who was the girl who played my wife, got a cold. And she called me up and she said, I don't think I'm going to make the show. I said, what are you talking about? She said, well, I have a cold. I said, so? And she's like, well, I don't feel good. I said, so? I said, if you're not there, we can't do the show. they're not gonna get somebody to replace you for a day or two while you have a cold. You have to be there. There's all these people relying on you. There's the whole cast and the crew, the network, the producers. You know, it's like you have a responsibility to show up. And she did. Didn't like it much. And actually, she actually quit the show a little bit later, and they brought in another actress to play her role, which happens in soap operas. And I'm sure if any of you ever watched, you know it does. But I remember I got a real lesson in this. I was shooting a Western that ended up being called Ransom for Alice. And I learned to drive first a single horse in a carriage, and then 2 horses and 3 and a 4-up. Because there was a scene in the movie where I'm driving a team of 4 horses, and I come, Yvette Mimieux was my co-star, and I'm riding down the street and coming around a corner and skidding to a stop and jumping out and running into this casino to rescue her. And so the guy who was a stunt coordinator said, you know, we'll get a stunt guy to do this. And I said, well, you know, Roy, his name was Roy, and I said, Roy, you know I can do it. You've seen me drive a team of 4 horses. You know, I mean, I can do this. It'll be great. You'll get a good shot. And he said, well, Gil, he said, you know, here's the thing. He says, there's about 180 people here in the crew and the other actors, and they're all, you know, they're relying on you to be here so that they can continue to shoot this movie. And he said, we went down the streets, and he said, so let's say that I let you do this, and you're driving the team like you know how to do, and you come around the corner, and let's say one of the horses stumbles, and the wagon rolls, and you get hurt, and they cart you off to the hospital. He said, everybody here goes home. Okay? He said, now, if I get a stunt guy to do it, and the same thing happens, we get another stunt guy. And we continue to work. And all 180 people are still here, and we get the movie shot. I was like, okay, I understand. I have a responsibility to the production to do this. So that's sort of the whole thing of the show must go on. And I'm amazed today when I see, or I don't know how true it is, but when I read things about major stars in major films doing stunts that are very, very dangerous, and I'm thinking, are you people out of your mind? Because if he sprains a rib or breaks his arm, you got a lot of extra shooting to do someplace because you got to wait till that arm mends, or the leg, or whatever it happens to be. It's like, I don't know whether to believe it or not. I just can't believe that a producer would be that careless with that much money, when there's that much money at stake. I mean, you're talking $100 million films and more.
Well, there are the times sometimes where they ask the actor to do the stunt when they shouldn't.
Yeah.
I did a movie called The Avenging Ace where I played another colonel in the Air Force, and my helicopter was to have crashed, and there was a scene of me running from the helicopter with William Catt, by the way. And William Catt saved my life because they said, we don't want to get a stunt double, we want we want to have the camera right here seeing your face so that when it explodes behind you, we get that full visual. I went, oh, okay. He said, don't worry about anything. We've taken all the fuel out of the helicopter. We know exactly how much explosive to use, not a problem. I said, okay. So we're running, and it explodes, and William Catt took me and threw me to the ground. And the shrapnel from the helicopter went past me another 30, 40 feet to the crew on the other side of the camera. Now, they didn't get hurt, but I would have been hurt because I would have been about 50 feet closer. And I, to this day, look, William, thank you. Thank you for doing that. Because my instinct was, I just froze. And he just knew, no, you don't freeze, you go down, girl. And and that's when I learned never to do my own stunts.
Gil,
What happened?
Going back to stunt people and the actors, right now, there are children doubling other kids. So,
Children as stunt people?
yeah, I mean, look, the stuntman
That's not
guy,
cool.
they have their own kids doubling other kids.
Ah.
And the union not doing anything about it. So, I mean, not too many people left in California, but There's no job for us, for, you know, for all guys.
For little people, I see.
No, it's not, it should not be right.
You can always do a convention with me.
Of course, I know.
Is that a deal?
Yeah.
Okay.
We all do convention together.
Yeah, I've been shot twice by special effects guys. I was in a gun battle in the same Western actually, and I was supposed to go from one rock to another, and I got winged by a squib that was supposed to land in the ground and landed on me. It just leaves a mark for a while. It doesn't
It hurts
go
like hell.
It hurts like it's something. One time on Buck Rogers, the guy who did the powder, you know, the lock I was telling you about exploding. Well, it exploded, and the metal plate went right by my head, and then went back into the wall behind me and took a chunk out of the wall. That wasn't a stunt. That wasn't supposed to happen. It was just supposed to basically fizz from the laser thing. They just put a little too much powder in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened with the Western. I was diving, and another shot was supposed to go off, and there was an explosion from the ground, and it blew a hole in my leg as I went over the top of it because he put too much powder in it. So I'm real careful with powder guys on the set. Anytime there's supposed to be an explosion, I'm always over there going, how much you putting in there? How far do I need to be to save my life?
Yeah, Erin, you are an
Oh,
agent.
you woke up?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
There's somebody else asking
Yeah.
questions, Phil.
Well,
No one cares.
I want to talk to Erin right now.
okay.
Okay, well, I'll ask this guy what he wants to talk about, and you guys go ahead and talk.
You're an agent.
Yes.
You represent actors. So knowing this from your experiences on set and some of the dangerous things that actors are asked to do, I mean, do you ever have an opportunity to say, you probably shouldn't do that? I mean, it's your career, it's your life, but
Yeah, I'm an agent, but not for on-camera
Okay,
work,
okay.
for film. I represent people like Gil to do personal appearances at conventions around the world. So I don't really deal with that kind of stuff anymore.
Sorry, we're having
I'm private company, yeah, I understand.
it's the Gil and Phil show.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
No worries.
Quickly before he gets started again.
So, watching The Phantom Menace, you see Anakin tell R2-D2, hey, you gotta turn this autopilot off, you're gonna get us killed. First thing I think of, that's what Buck Rogers said in the pilot episode. How many times
It
did
was
you
a movie.
It was a
First it was a movie, then it was, the
My
pilot was
apologies.
cut. That's okay. Everybody keeps saying the pilot episode. It was a motion picture first. It was shot as a motion picture. It was one of the top 5 grossing motion pictures of 1979. Universal had an ad in the Hollywood Reporter that said, opening weekend gross $12 million. I'm rounding it up from 11,900,000 and some thousand. And that was in 1979 dollars. What do you pay for shows now? Go to the movies?
15, 20 bucks.
Okay. Well, let's say it's 15. It was $3 then. So if you take 12 million and divide and multiply it by 5, Buck Rogers had a $60 million opening weekend. It grossed $30 million. It was only out a month because Sid Sheinberg, who was president of Universal at the time, didn't think the movie had a shot. So they put all their money behind Flash Gordon. It was a huge, huge hit, we all know.
It had a great soundtrack.
Had a great sound. I guess I never saw the film. Like Sam a lot. And Melody, I did a movie with Melody. But anyway, they treated Buck as sort of the redheaded bastard stepchild in a family of dark-haired people.
We didn't see it that way.
Huh?
We didn't see it that way.
Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. I didn't either, but they did. So,
Yeah.
and they're the guys that put the movie out. But they jerked it out of the movie theaters
Too soon.
after a month when there were still lines around the block for the movie. And it grossed over $30 million. So take that times 5, and the movie grossed $150 million in its first month. And that was it, with no backing, no television ads, no nothing. All it had was whatever the movie theaters put up saying Buck Rogers is on wherever. And the reason they did that was because Sid Sheinberg again pre-sold the movie to cable. And the deal was it had to be out of the theaters at least 1 month before it went on cable, so they pulled it. Now you would think a business would look at it and go, this thing is making a pot full of money. Why the hell are we pulling it out of the movie theaters? Let's just keep it there for a while. Let's give it a little backing. And they were like, no, we'll just do it all with Flash Gordon.
My question is, how many times do you see something happen in a movie and you think, hey, I did that first?
I have none. You know, I'm a very good audience because I can suspend disbelief with the best of them. And I enjoy going to a movie. The only movies I really learn anything from as a director or as a performer are really bad movies, because then I don't get involved in the plot. So I end up watching the cuts, the lighting, the performances, the setups, things like that. I've become more technically oriented, so I'm not really into the movie itself. I'm looking at it from the aspects of, you know, how it was directed, how it was written, whatever. So, but I love a good movie, man. I cry at the right spots in movies. You know, I was a basket case in The Champ. I went in, thank God I was by myself. But Steel Magnolias, forget it. I was on a dive cruise for Runaway with the Rich and Famous off the coast of Honduras when I went into the theater by myself and watched Steel Magnolias, and I was like, I mean, you can manipulate me like you wouldn't believe. So I'm a very good audience. So that's it. Yes, sir.
Historically, science fiction has been a good avenue to explore themes like racism, prejudice, and so forth. Star Trek famously had that. Were you guys conscious of that during the filming of this show, and do you think you pulled it off successfully?
Well, I was. It was kind of, I took a lot of heat for some of the stuff that I did, but that was my job, I felt, as the lead in the film, and also in the movie. I mean, in the television series. I stood up for Erin's character to make her stronger. They wanted to do other things, and I was like, you know, there was one classic time. There's a shot of Erin and I standing on a walkway outside of the Hotel Bonaventure in LA. And the reason we're standing out there is because I stopped production because I noticed when we went in, we were supposed to do some kind of there was a cocktail party or something, and dance scene or something like that. Anyway, I noticed that all the women were in civilian dress for whatever they thought they would be wearing, and all the men were in military garb. And I was like, how come there's no women in military garb? Is she the only woman? All of a sudden you just make her like a figurehead instead of the best of the group. So I said, you know, we're not going to shoot this until you put some women in uniform and put some men in civilian clothes. And since I got away with that, I said, and also I said, from now on, I want women in every position that would be traditionally thought of as for men. I want women pilots, I want women guards, I want women mechanics. I said, and I don't want anyone to say anything about it. I don't want Buck to go, wow, look at all these women here. I said, I just want to see that happening as an audience. Because I said, there will be some young women watching this show, and I want them to just see that it's possible to do anything they want to do, whatever they're interested in.
Representation matters. Representation matters.
It does, yeah. And it mattered, to me it mattered that we didn't underline it, that it just happened, that it was just there, like it was a normal thing. Like, it's just accepted. And I said to him, I said, look, the reasoning is this. Earth has gone through a terrible Holocaust. Whatever it may be nuclear, maybe whatever. We never really came up with that. I would have liked to have done that later. But anyway, I said, you need everybody. You need every single person who can do the job to do the job. So it stands to reason, why are women, only doing this one thing? It's not that it's a bad thing, but why is that the only thing they're allowed to do? And then, you weaken her character by making her the only woman. Because all of a sudden she's just, she's just there. Like, what do they call it when it's a woman just like the...
Window dressing.
Well, not that, but it's token. She becomes the token woman. It's like, she's not a token, she's the best. That's why she's where she's at. It took a lot of heat for that, but it paid off, I think, for the show. The second season I gave up because we had a new producer named John Mantley who, yeah, thank you. He was an asshole. I know I shouldn't be so tactful, but anyway.
Who almost fired me, by the way.
Huh?
Really?
Yeah,
What,
he didn't.
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't coming back the second year.
They turned you into Dairy Queen in space? That's what we used to call her
That's
outfit.
my
It's like,
outfit.
what the hell?
Yeah.
Telephone. You want to get that? But yeah, I went in to talk to John when I saw one of the original scripts, and I thought, first of all, I didn't really care for the character having feathers growing out of his head. I thought it made us really getting close to Saturday morning kids show time. The character was interesting. I just don't know why he had to have feathers growing out of his head. But he was very proud of the fact. Basically, the Hawk script, by the way, was a ripoff of a Gunsmoke script that he wrote. You want to get that too? Are you a doctor? Or? That's all right.
There's one rule I've always had, traveling and working.
Yeah?
If you see your daughter's phone number come up,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
be quiet. You'll be all right.
Yeah, okay.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. I'm just teasing you. Anyway, that was a Gunsmoke script that he ripped off. He wrote it, so I guess it's okay for him to rip it off. Michael and Sarah played the Apache chieftain, and his wife was played by Barbara Luna. And the Buck Rogers role, of course, was Marshall Dillon. And he was very happy with the fact that he was able to cast Barbara Luna in both roles. Same script. And the same thing happened in the same scripts. And I just thought, well, we're kind of screwed here. But I thought, all right, we'll give it a shot. Tom did a great job as the Hawk, and I didn't like the fact that we were on a ship basically ripping off Battlestar Galactica's mission. I felt like I was watching Star Trek, going where no man's ever gone before, blah, blah. I was like, Jesus, I've heard this before. But I kind of just gave up when the Time of the Hawk came on, and it was our big 2-hour special. And the ratings dropped every 15 minutes. I was connected to, I had an access number to get the ratings overnight. And I watched them drop every 15 minutes. And I actually told Tom the next day on the set, I said, you should start looking for another job because we're not going to last this season. And unfortunately it was true. I then really started working to try to save the show because I never thought that the show ever realized its potential. I mean, we had an incredible way to go. I wanted to go back to Anarchia, and I wanted to go back and explore why these people were so hated and so abused, really. And then my thought was, no wonder these people are pissed off. Every time someone comes out from under the dome, they shoot at them. And then there was a situation where she comes out as Wilma Deering to rescue Buck, or to actually not rescue me, but to jail me. And none of them had on hazmat uniforms. It's like, if it's so hazardous that you have to live under a dome, what the hell are you doing out here in regular clothes? And I never grew another ear. I was out there more than they were, and nothing happened to me. So I thought, why aren't these people being taken care of? Why isn't more being done? And so I had this idea that Buck would go and be captured and realize that these people are just like everyone else. That, yeah, they've got scars and stuff from whatever happened. Also, I thought it was probably an environmental holocaust rather than an atomic or nuclear holocaust. But these people are just like everyone else. They just want the best for their families and their children. They want a better life for them than they have. And they're sick and tired of being abused. And the fact that no one cares about it. So that would have been, that to my mind would have been the show to do after the movie ended. But there was just a lot of stuff that we could have gotten into. And you know, when you're going 500 years in the future, you have a real opportunity to remark about things that are happening now and perhaps cause some change. But we never got that opportunity. So instead we sunk into, well, in the second season, I actually saw one of the shows. I think it was one of the last shows. I thought, well, no wonder we didn't make it, because the lighting all of a sudden got very cheap. It was not very good at all. We had theatrical lighting in the first season. It was beautifully done. The show had a real quality to it. And I watched this one episode and I thought, God, it just looks cheap. It was very disappointing. I was embarrassed for the show. And I thought, well, no wonder a lot of people didn't like the second season. I wouldn't have liked it either.
By the way, they changed the voice of Twiki, remember?
Yeah.
They got rid of Mel Blanc and...
For a short time,
Yeah, well, yeah, thanks to you.
But I talked to him and I said, you know, if you don't get Mel back, you're going to have to get somebody else to play Buck Rogers. Wow. So they got Mel back.
Yeah.
I still have a little pull. Okay.
So she had a...
I think we got time for one more question.
She was a...
Good.
Oh,
You have to get online. Even though I know you, you have to get online. Yes, sir.
Hey, this question is for Felix. You've had a great opportunity to work with a bunch of great ensemble cast. I was wondering if you could maybe share any anecdotes with working with the great Jackie Coogan or anyone else from the Addams Family?
Oh, Jackie Coogan, the one who used to fall asleep. Jackie Coogan, the whole crew, I mean, the whole all the actors in the Addams Family were great people. Jackie Coogan, he ruined so many scenes while he was not involved in the, in the shot with us. He used to fall asleep all the time. And every time when we were filming something, all of a sudden somebody snoring really loud. And there was Jackie Coogan standing someplace or sitting, falling asleep. But he was a great guy, and he made a lot of money when he was, 5 years old, and worked with Charlie Chaplin as a kid. Jackie Coogan was great, John Aston, Carolyn Jones, Ted Cassidy, they were all them were great people to work with. So we had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the work because it was like a family. There was an Addams Family, but it was a family. I enjoyed to go to work every day, so it was great.
All right, so we're going to wrap up here. I just want to ask
One more thing to say.
Excuse me.
You're excused.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I just thought of one very funny thing that happened. Tragically, it happened with Dorothy Stratton.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
She played Miss Perfect Universe or something, and supposedly she got the title because she had the world's most perfect genes, genetically speaking. Not that she looked bad in jeans anyway, but anyway, there was a scene between me and the captain because these guys are trying to kidnap her, and we almost didn't get through the scene. We were talking about, he was like, well, I don't understand what's going on. I said, well, they're after her genes. And 11 takes later, we were still trying to get through that line because, of course, both of us were saying they're just trying to get into her genes instead of trying to get her genes. And we couldn't stop laughing. I mean, one of us did do it, we'd hold it, and then the other would break down. We finally, after about 5 takes, we got through it, the crew started laughing. And it's like, this is not gonna work, guys, we're gonna have to get this done. It took about 12 takes to get through that line. And it was amazing. It was like, God, we're never gonna get this one line done. They're after her genes. No, they're trying to get in her genes. Oh, okay, fine. But it was a funny thing. And I thought it was funny. You all laughed. That's it. Good night.
You caught you here. at Dragon Con for us every
Oh,
year.
yes.
And do you have any more? You're not doing any more classes?
Oh,
on
yes,
that?
I have a class this afternoon at 2:30. I have another class on Monday morning at 10 o'clock. Love to see you there. Love to share with you my passion, so.
And Gil, you're going to be doing the Dragon Awards,
Yeah, 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock?
And then I do the Star Trek pageant at 5:30 as a judge.
Oh, awesome.
Garrett.
Okay.
He makes me do it because I make him do my show.
Trade-offs, man. And Felix, you're just going to hang out with Gil, right?
I think I have a photo op coming up.
Okay.
I don't know if it's 120 or 2 something, I don't know.
We
I'm
don't
lost,
know.
you know, this place is huge.
All right, well, I want to thank you guys for joining us this morning. And thank you very much. And thank you all very much for attending. Please don't forget to rate us in the app. Yeah, thank you very much to Erin, Gerard,